Does it say recording on you guys' end? Okay. Um, okay. So today we're going to talk about depression. And I'll be your presenter, Aaliyah. Okay. So on the agenda today, we have the group rules that we'll go over, the confidentiality, icebreaker. Then we'll talk about what is depression, the types of depression, signs, causes, and then we have a little assignment that we'll do. And then we'll talk about dealing with depression after we go over everything else. And then we have a little break and then a reflection. Any questions so far? Okay. Group rules are review the limits of confidentiality, no side conversations, including phones and the chat rooms. Be respectful of each group member, communicate needs within the group, and respect group decisions and opinions. Confidentiality. Just remember, this is a practice group counseling session. Any information said in this session should not be repeated. This Zoom session will be recorded and viewed by GCU University faculty and staff for the purposes of supervision, research, and/or teaching. Okay, so for our icebreaker, we're going to do something called Lately. And Lately is basically an open-ended icebreaker that encourages team members to think outside of the box when learning about each other. So basically, for my thing that I've been doing lately, I've been trying to get back into baking because I was baking when I was little, but just like box things. But I'm trying to like do homemade stuff. So last Sunday, I made like donut dough, but I haven't fried it yet. So hopefully I can fry it soon before it go bad. So who would like to go first?
I can go. Lately I've been trying to get back into the gym and just getting active. Lord, and it's been hard. It's been hard with my job. It's a lot of walking and running, trying to catch kids out of class and all that. And then for me, I just try to make it a game with the kids so that way they don't feel in trouble. But it's a lot of running and they love it. So they're running fast. And I'm like, so I've been trying to
Yeah.
get back into the gym. And the saying is true. Like the hardest part is getting there because I would get home and I'm like, I'm not going. I'm not going.
Yeah.
And I'll go.
Okay, well, I'll go next. What I have been into lately is, like I told you guys, I'm reevaluating my life with my two part-time jobs. So I just been thinking about my family and, not getting that time back with my children. School is starting. My son's going to start playing football his senior year. And then my daughter wants to do cheer. So and then I'm a Girl Scout, also co-leader. So I want to focus more on my children. So that's what I've been up to lately.
So I don't know. I feel like more lately, like I've been into the what are they called? Like the water things that make everything taste like juice. Like
Oh.
like the Mio, just because I'm a sucker for Dr. Pepper. And for like my back to school gift, they got me a 24 pack of Dr. Pepper, and I was like, oh, thank you. But then I'm like, I'm gonna be healthy. Like I can't can't have 24 Dr. Peppers.
Oh wow.
So I don't know. I don't love the taste of water sometimes. So I have the like sugar-free things that make it taste like blue raspberry, and I call that healthier.
Well, kudos to you. We're going to encourage you to keep on doing it because I love Dr. Pepper too. But yes, I've been doing more water. And then for my birthday, I got this Stanley cup. So I said, okay, I'm going to drink a lot of water. So kudos. You got this. Everybody has what they want to do that they've been doing lately.
Okay. So what is depression? If you guys can go around and tell me what's your thoughts on, like, what do you think depression is before we get into the definition?
Depression is losing interest in what you normally do, going through emotional, mental, a state where something may have happened or tragically happened that has changed your mood.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I define it as like a prolonged feeling of sadness, like over 2 weeks. Where like sometimes your sleep's affected, sometimes you lose interest in the things that you like to do normally. And it's kind of like a sadness mixed with hopelessness feeling.
Yeah, I think kind of the same for both. I kind of, when I think of depression, I try to define it like, or the way I define it is like the extreme feeling of sadness or lack of motivation, not understanding why you feel the way, why you feel so sad or so hopeless, not understanding why you just can't get up out of bed or leave the house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. So, depression is a common mental disorder affecting more than 264 million people worldwide. It is characterized by persistent sadness and lack of interest or pleasurable and previously rewarding or enjoyable activities. I have this video, hopefully the sound play. It will give like a more detail of what it is. Let's see if it works. You all hear it? No. I was afraid this would happen. You can't hear anything? Wait,
What about the sound thing on the bottom? Is it
from
all the way?
here? What about on the computer?
You see, like in the YouTube video?
Wait, this one?
Yeah. Oh,
Yes, all the way up. It's a 4-minute video. I don't want you all to read it for 4 minutes.
it's fine.
Okay. Okay, let's see.
Depression is the leading cause of disability in the world. In the United States, close to 10% of adults struggle with depression. But because it's a mental illness, it can be a lot harder to understand than, say, high cholesterol. One major source of confusion is the difference between having depression and just feeling depressed. Almost everyone feels down from time to time. Getting a bad grade, losing a job, having an argument, even a rainy day can bring on feelings of sadness. Sometimes there's no trigger at all. It just pops up out of the blue. Then circumstances change, and those sad feelings disappear. Clinical depression is different. It's a medical disorder, and it won't go away just because you want it to. It lingers for at least 2 consecutive weeks and significantly interferes with one's ability to work, play, or love. Depression can have a lot of different symptoms: a low mood, loss of interest in things you normally enjoy, changes in appetite, feeling worthless or excessively guilty, sleeping either too much or too little, poor concentration, restlessness or slowness, loss of energy, or recurrent thoughts of suicide. If you have at least 5 of those symptoms, according to psychiatric guidelines, you qualify for a diagnosis of depression. And it's not just behavioral symptoms. Depression has physical manifestations inside the brain. First of all, there are changes that could be seen with the naked eye and X-ray vision. These include smaller frontal lobes and hippocampal volumes. On a more micro scale, depression is associated with a few things: the abnormal transmission or depletion of certain neurotransmitters, especially serotonin, norepinephrine, and dopamine, blunted circadian rhythms, or specific changes in the REM and slow wave parts of your sleep cycle, and hormone abnormalities, such as high cortisol and deregulation of thyroid hormones. But neuroscientists still don't have a complete picture of what causes depression. It seems to have to do with a complex interaction between genes and environment, but we don't have a diagnostic tool that can accurately predict where or when it will show up. And because depression symptoms are intangible, it's hard to know who might look fine but is actually struggling. According to the National Institute of Mental Health, it takes the average person suffering with a mental illness over 10 years to ask for help. But there are very effective treatments. Medications and therapy complement each other to boost brain chemicals. In extreme cases, electroconvulsive therapy, which is like a controlled seizure in the patient's brain, is also very helpful. Other promising treatments, like transcranial magnetic stimulation, are being investigated too. So if you know someone struggling with depression, encourage them gently to seek out some of these options. You might even offer to help with specific tasks, like looking up therapists in the area or making a list of questions to ask a doctor. To someone with depression, these first steps can seem insurmountable. If they feel guilty or ashamed, point out that depression is a medical condition, just like asthma or diabetes. It's not a weakness or a personality trait, and they shouldn't expect themselves to just get over it, any more than they could will themselves to get over a broken arm. If you haven't experienced depression yourself, avoid comparing it to times you've felt down. Comparing what they're experiencing to normal temporary feelings of sadness can make them feel guilty for struggling. Even just talking about depression openly can help. For example, research shows that asking someone about suicidal thoughts actually reduces their suicide risk. Open conversations about mental illness help erode stigma and make it easier for people to ask for help. And the more patients seek treatment, the more scientists will learn about depression, and the better the treatments will get.
Okay. Is there anything in the video that was shocking, like you didn't know or wasn't expecting? I know for me, when they said people suffering with depression or something like that, wait about 10 years to get help. That was like a little surprising to me. Like 10 years is a long time.
Yeah, that shocked me too. Like usually, I think sometimes maybe people don't like that if they push themselves, they don't realize that they're going through it until something really triggers it. So, but it is shocking that shocked me too, 10 years. Ooh.
Yeah.
I think one that shocked me the most was how the hippocampus and the frontal lobe also can decrease. I was like, oh.
There's a lot of scientific words. So I like that video because it'll be better for me to show the video than try to put it in the presentation.
I think the 10 years it scared me. It made me sad, it's crazy that people who suffer from mental illness, period, it takes them so long to seek help because they feel guilty and ashamed.
Yeah.
And we do to make them, they gave us the tools for what to do, but it's in real practice, because it's easier said than done. What do we do with people in our lives who are close to us who we probably have a feeling they may be suffering? How do we help them? You know what I mean? Or even just encourage. So this video was really eye-opening.
Yeah. Let's see. So they categorize it in three main types of depression. Depression is a word used in the everyday language to describe a number of feelings, including sadness, frustration, and disappointment. The three ones are major depression, which is more intense, one that lasts longer than 2 or more weeks, like Layla said, and significantly interferes with everyday today functioning. So can you guys give me an example of, you can pick one, just give me an example of what you see in other people, something they will relate to, which type of depression they relate to. You could just say 1, 2, or 3.
3.
Give me a example. Sorry, an example.
Of an example?
Yeah.
Someone that's usually bubbly and getting up and getting ready for work, making, then they're like, I don't feel like doing it. Or if they're used to going out exercising on a daily basis and something happened and they're just like, I don't want to exercise.
Yeah.
I would say, I'm sorry, Kim.
You muted yourself. Fine. As gonna say like sometimes like I noticed it a lot in like the school setting when like kids that are normally like on top of it, like ready to engage in class, like they'll slowly like not raise their hand or they'll be like, can I put my head down? Like I'm just really tired today. And then I'll
Mhm.
sleep like through all of math. And I'm like, dang, luck. I'm kidding.
Oh, I was gonna say 3 for me as well. For me, when I think I have a friend who she suffers with clinical depression, and I had no idea. But when she told me, I was realizing, okay, it makes sense why. Like she'll come home, and her room is usually spotless, and for a while, like there's clothes everywhere, her rabbit poops everywhere, just stuff is everywhere. I'm like, this, like, what's going on? What's going on? And now that I know that she is clinically depressed, whenever I go to visit her, her room's a mess. I don't say anything, and I just start folding clothes, vacuuming, and I tell her, go watch TV, go outside and do something, or go cook me some breakfast while I clean your room because
Mhm.
I got you.
Yeah, that's nice of you.
Listen, and it's a job, but I love
Mhm.
her unconditionally.
Yeah.
I've always heard that like whenever you start noticing like you're not taking care of like your room or your dishes, like that's when you can kind of pinpoint, I guess,
Mhm.
is a better
Mhm.
word. And it's like when you're starting to like get into more of like a depression.
Yeah. That's usually the first signs.
Yeah, like, oh.
You're like, my dishes haven't been done all week. Wait a minute.
Right. I don't feel like doing anything.
Um, okay. So I put like the 7 signs of depression. So we're gonna go through each one and you all are gonna like give me an example of the one I said. So hopeless outlook, loss of interest, change weight or appetite, increased fatigue and sleep problems, anxiety, uncontrollable emotions, and looking at death. I know it's probably self-explanatory, but I just want to go through each one. So can you all give me an example of hopeless outlook?
I feel like for hopeless outlook, they're like, I'm not going to be able to get this job. I'm gonna stay unemployed and kind of they do like a slippery slope of thoughts.
Yeah.
When I think about it, hopeless outlook, just feeling hopeless, not having the confidence.
I think about like people saying like, they feel like they have the weight of the world on their shoulders. I
Mhm.
hear that a lot. So that's something that comes to mind.
Okay. Loss of interest.
I feel like whenever I notice like loss of interest, it's like say they crochet all the time and that's what they do like as their way of fidgeting. And then I'm like, oh, how's your crochet project going? And they're like, oh, I haven't started anything in like a while. I'm like,
Mhm.
That's a good one. Or exercising on a daily basis and not doing it.
Yeah.
I think one that I think about is when I was in community college. You see them go every day or every Tuesday, Thursday, and they're there, they're participating, and then they just stop showing up. And
Mhm.
it's not because their car broke down or anything. Um, but they stop showing up and then they come back. And it's like then all of a sudden they feel like they have all this catching up to do. And then they
Mhm.
stop up completely.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Changing weight or appetite.
I feel like for changing weight or appetite, like I feel like it could be either like weight gain or weight lost, just kind of depending on the person or like how it's going that day.
Yeah.
I feel like every person is different and like how they would experience that.
Mhm.
Like I know a lot of people that go through depression, some will eat more. They feel like they have to eat through their depression.
Yeah.
I was just about to say, I remember, forgive me, but she's my favorite. I remember when Janet Jackson was going through depression after Michael died, and she mentioned how like when she gets these onsets of depression, she's an emotional eater. So that's what helps her cope to get through it.
Mhm. Increased fatigue and sleep problems.
I'd probably go back to the kid that like would raise their hand all the time, and then they're like, "Can I lay my head down?" And then they end up sleeping through a whole class.
Mm-hmm.
Or having trouble sleeping at night. They're waking up many a times in the night just due to overthinking.
Yeah.
And now, with the kids I work with in Oakland, um, a lot of them, there's days where they just are so tired, so fatigued, and it's like they're so, I don't say lifeless, but they're kind of lifeless. And they got a good amount of sleep, they ate, but I just know they go through so much that like throughout the day they're just extremely fatigued because, you know, of what they're going through.
Yeah, I know it's hard working for you all who work with students and children. It's hard. Like you see so many different personalities and like you try to keep up with everyone to make sure everyone is okay. I know that's hard. Anxiety.
I know that. Oh, sorry.
Your turn, go.
I know that. Thinking of my kids again, I see that manifest itself in nail biting. One of my students, I realize that he has really bad anxiety, and when I look at his nails, like they're pretty much gone, like they're nubs. And I remember holding his hand and saying, like, "You got a lot going on, don't you?" You know, and then he just fell out. So I definitely, when I think of anxiety, I see like nail biting for sure.
Mhm.
Because I work with younger kids, like they try to nail bite, but they don't have that like fine motor skill yet. So then they get frustrated about it, and then they end up like biting their arm, and I'm like, "Ow! Like what happened?" And then they're like, "Oh, I just had a big feeling," and then it turns into a conversation.
Yeah.
Hmm. When I think about anxiety, I think about breathing, not being able to catch a breath. So um
Yeah.
yeah, just having that hard time of feeling like something is on your chest.
Uncontrollable emotions.
I feel like this kind of like differs by like age, because I feel like within our age group, like our uncontrollable emotions, like we will kind of manifest that into the like loss of interest and the fatigue and the sleep problems. But then people like younger than us will have like emotional outburst and like throw things because they don't understand what's going on.
Yeah.
When I think of it, like crying out of nowhere, feeling like your emotions all over the place, but just crying.
Hmm.
I think of like, I don't want to say extreme anger, but uncontrollable anger, you know? That's what I think about.
Yeah. And then looking at death.
Like that's kind of self
Hmm.
explanatory. Like they'll, at least like with my experience, like with working with kids, they would come up to me and they're like, "So, I had this really weird dream, and like it's always a really weird dream that," and I'm like, "Okay, well, what happened?" And they're like, "I was thinking about death," and I'm like, "In your dream, you were thinking?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Okay."
I know that some people, I know people have a lot of different like what they think is funny, but a lot of people joke about death. Like, and I think that's like a sign, like, okay, you're probably depressed.
Mhm.
But I know people have different like things what they think is funny and what's not funny, but okay. What about you or others? I put you or others because I know this is a deep conversation, so I put others. What symptoms of depression do you or others experience? Things to think about. What do other people notice about me when I'm depressed? How does my view of myself, others, and in the future change when I'm depressed? How does my life change when I'm depressed? And what have I noticed about what I do or don't do when I'm depressed? For me, I notice a lot of people when they are depressed, they interact with people differently. Like sometimes they can be really bubbly, like we all already talked about, but then next day they're all I just don't want to talk today. And then the next one I have is feeling lost or alone. Like they just don't know like what's going on. They just feel alone at the moment, like they don't have anyone. And then you all can say what you think about others if you want.
I can go. I'll be a bit vulnerable. So if I start crying, forgive me, y'all. No, I'm just kidding. I won't cry, I promise. But for me, I know in moments where I was like truly depressed, I was the one who just stopped going to school.
Hmm.
And I just remember like I'd wake up, look at the time. This is the time I usually get ready, but then I would think I'm not gonna go. Why aren't you know what I'm not gonna go, but why am I not gonna go? I don't know. I just don't feel like it today. So I'm just
Yeah.
turning and I think I missed like a good 2, 3 weeks of school. And it wasn't until my best friend, because we were going to the same community college, and she came over like, I'm doing a wellness check and
Hmm.
laying there in bed, room a mess. But when I was talking about my friend's room, that was really my friend's room, but my room was a mess too.
Hmm.
And she just came over and that's when I just had a conversation. I think that was a year a lot happened to me. I lost a loved one to suicide. I had quit my job to go back to school, and that's tough in itself. Um, and I think my view of the world, I don't want to say that it was dark, but I felt like it was the world and then it was me, you know? So
Hmm.
it was almost like that, all these people around me, but I just feel like I'm in a dark room with a spotlight on me, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think it's important to have like friends, like you mentioned, like that. Like she noticed like he wasn't coming to school, so she went to check on you. I think that's very important. I know a lot of people don't have that, so that's why things get worse than what it is. But that's important to have friends like that.
I'll also be a little vulnerable. So I'm actually on like medication assisted treatment. So I have to take antidepressants and they check on all the levels and stuff every month. Um, and I've been diagnosed with major depressive disorder since I was 9. So I feel like only people who can really like make a big viewpoint of like when I am and when I'm not is my parents, because like I'm
Hmm.
around a lot and people don't kind of know what to expect.
Hmm.
Um, so I feel like per my parents' report when we would awkwardly sit at the doctor and I would go, how am I feeling? Maybe they would notice that I'm a lot quieter and I would whisper when I would talk and I would get really cold or really hot and they're like, it's not cold in here, like it's 70 degrees
Hmm.
in the apartment. And I'm like, well, I'm freezing.
Yeah. I
And
know
then
like when people go off to school, like that's like a major point in life when people realize they have depression because they don't have anyone who knows how they act. So like if someone don't know that you're normally bubbly but you're sad all the time, they won't know that. So yeah, like I say, it's just important to have people around that knows you and keep in contact with them.
So my son, he is battling depression. Um, just one day out of the blue, getting him up for school, he was like, um, I don't want to go to school. Mentally, he's like, I'm tired. I'm mentally tired. And so I had asked him, I was like, what does that mean? Like, do we need to go to the mental hospital? Do we need to go seek help? Um, Grades were dropping. Um, he was just not like, my son has a love for football and the coach had some words with him and he just quit. And like after that, I could see like some kind of derailing. I mean, he was still laughing and bubbly with us, but deep down inside, like he would just stay in his room. He would sleep all the time. And he just lost interest of doing what he used to, going out and stuff like that. So I ended up getting him a counselor and also getting him on medication. So now we're just trying to go through the motions of getting him back to doing normal activities.
Yeah. I also think since we're all in this field, like we notice things before other people notice things. I think that's like a good thing for us. Like we notice like when someone is changing and they're sad or. That's
Mhm.
the rest. Any
Really good.
questions about this slide? What you say?
I was like, I think it's also like impactful that we're in this field because like people who wouldn't seek help by themselves, like have that person to kind of being like, hey, that's not normal.
Mm-hmm.
We do to help.
Yeah.
But another thing is good is if, I'm pretty sure we've all had where we felt down and low. So I think that more so we're able to use our experiences to help others that don't know where to go or how to start or how to go about getting help because they feel like they're different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Any questions about this slide or anything? No. Okay, so for the assignment, there are 3 ways of thinking which sign of depression you have. So let me move this, sorry. We're just going to go through this and pick which one you all think is the type of depression. So there's physical, where there's a sensation in your body, cognitive, thoughts and emotions, and then behavior, how you act or behave. So insomnia, which one do you guys think that one is? Between the 3. You can just say 1, 2, or 3.
One.
Yeah. Thoughts of suicide. Yeah.
It's just thoughts. I think it's 2.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Good catch on that. So if it was suicide, which one do you guys think would be?
Maybe also 2. Like that's why like it depends on.
Mm-hmm.
I think it could be 2 or 3.
Yeah. Low energy levels.
I think it's one.
I think it's
Yeah.
physical.
Hopelessness.
I think it could be cognitive and it also can be behavioral.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I agree.
Yeah. Stand in bed.
Mm. Probably behavior because you're doing that. It's
Yeah.
an act.
Poor appetite.
Physical.
Yes.
And it could also be behavior too, because you're not eating or not.
True, yeah. Not going out.
Behavior.
Yeah.
And feeling sad.
Cognitive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Avoiding people.
I want to say behavior 3.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And crying.
I
Probably
want to
also
say behavior.
Yeah. So does that make sense? Like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So can you all give me one of, you can pick anyone, just give me one example of one.
Overeating.
Like your own word, like if that makes sense.
Thanks. Overeating.
Which one would you say that one is?
The behavior.
Yeah.
for cognitive, I would say like heightened anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
For physical, it could be self-cutting.
Oh yeah. All right. Any questions on this one?
So, okay, for the ones that we were like, is this 2 or 3?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Um, would you still like address them the say personally, or would you like try
I mean,
to
when
like
I was doing this, they had set ones on which one it was. Like for thoughts of suicide, it was only for number 2, cognitive. So I didn't think it that way, but now that you all said it, I would put it in both categories. Just depending on exactly what's going on, if that makes sense.
Yes,
Mhm.
absolutely. Like kind of like thinking outside the box because it could be a touch of anything depending on how severe or where it's at.
Yeah. Okay, what causes depression? There are 2 things that cause depression is biological factors and psychological factors. We're just gonna go through each one and we all gonna talk about it, like what does it mean? So if we're saying genes, what does that mean? Like what type of depression? Like how does that relate to depression?
It could be something that is passed down that is generational,
Yeah.
effective generational.
Yes. Hormones.
I think so. There are a lot of like different disorders that like will mess with hormones, like people with was it thyroid diseases are like more prone to getting depression due
Mhm.
to hormone imbalance.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Or PCOS.
Mhm.
I know that one, polycystic cyst syndrome. They usually go through depression because, they deal with hormones and cramping and, not being able, some don't be are not able to bear children. So
Mhm. Brain chemicals.
Kind of like in that video where it said like the hoses that feed like the serotonin and the dopamine and stuff, like sometimes those just aren't as functional.
Yeah.
mm,
And then on the other side, we have thinking.
mm,
I feel like with depression, like any style of like thinking can give like a cause, like being really positive and then someone says something negative and then you like overanalyze that.
Just like being sensitive.
Yeah, it's like or always thinking negatively or having like those anxious thoughts.
Mhm.
mhm.
Loss.
Loss of a family member, a friend. It could be a loss of a relationship. It could be a loss of a pet. It could just be any type of loss that causes depression.
Yeah, I had a pet pass away. It was my first adult pet last year. It was so sad. She was the sweetest cat ever. And I try to replace her with these cats. That's why I have so many, but she's not replaceable. Not saying I don't like these cats, but she was the best.
Oh.
And then sense of failure.
Mhm. I feel like that can also be with like loss, like if I took care of my plants, maybe my plants wouldn't have died, or I feel like the psychological factors, it kind of is like over analyzing.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah. So those are like the two main types of depression, biological and psycho, you know the word. Sorry. And then things you can do if you're dealing with depression. Um, you can seek help, just like call someone, call someone, if it's like really urgent, I think you should call the urgent line. Create rewarding goals for yourself, like for myself, like I'm always working and I need to like find something to reward myself like at the end of the week. Um, Find fulfilling activities. Like for me, I like to go to the gym, but I haven't had time, but that's like something I can do, as well as read books, recognize helpful thoughts, just think positive about your day. Like if you're sad, don't try to think negative. Add positive moments to your day. You can go get the Starbucks coffee if you want it, if you're sad. Just eat healthy. I know they say that eating food that's not healthy that causes like depression too. So I try to eat healthier just because I don't want to be depressed or, just feel sad about myself. Um, Create a morning pampering routine, just like waking up in the morning. The first thing you do, just create a pampering routine so you can feel better about yourself. Go outside to get some fresh air and just improve your sleep. Get some sleep. I need some sleep. So um
Then you said the add positive moments to your day and create rewarding goals. And
mhm.
like if you're on that side of TikTok, but it's like, yes, I need my little $5 treat at the end of the day to prove that I made it.
I
Mhm.
think that's important. Like I think that's really important to just have reward goals for yourself. I know it's always work, 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 but we need to find things that make us happy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like to add positive moments to your day, like a daily affirmation. I used to, like when I was single, I used to have sticky notes all over my mirror that were like positive things, favorite scriptures. I would change it up, and
Mhm.
just speak to myself like today's gonna be a good day. So I think adding that positive moment to your day does something as well.
Oh yeah, I used to do the sticky notes in my old apartment. I need to get back to it.
There's actually an app I've been like obsessed with recently, and it's called I Am. And you can pick
Mhm.
how many like notifications you want a day. I put it to 8 because I was like, I don't want 30 because that's a lot. But if I get one, I'm gonna miss it. And it'll send
Yeah.
you like a positive affirmation 8 times a day or whatever you
Mhm.
pick. At random times. So like your phone or like your watch will randomly buzz and you're like, hello, who's texting me? And then it's like, I am beautiful. And you're like, okay.
Mhm.
Right,
I need to download that app.
right. Me too.
You have any questions about anything we went over today?
No, but that creating a morning pampering routine, that has saved my life. Okay.
Mhm. Oh, you have one?
I'm a constant shopper of Ulta. So I get like their ordinary skincare and like the face wash and all that. And every morning, especially if I'm like, it's gonna be a long day. I'm like, you know what? It's not gonna be a long day. It's gonna be a great
New skincare
it's
routine then.
gonna be a wonderful day. And then when I
Mhm.
look in the mirror, it's all done and my skin's nice and glowy and hydrated. I'm like, yeah.
Mhm. I've been really into perfumes lately. I've never been into perfumes, but just waking up like, okay, I'm gonna put this perfume on today. It just makes me happy.
Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna send you a link to this these perfumes. They're dupes.
Mhm.
It's like a known brand. I'm gonna
Oh
send you
yeah,
a link
send it to me.
to all
Is
of
it
you guys.
the
Yeah.
dossier ones where they're like,
Mhm.
I need that one too.
yeah, but they're like $20 and it's like Gucci Bloom. And I'm like,
They're amazing. I think I have the Baccarat one. I have the Flower Bomb one. Oh my gosh. And I'm just like,
Mhm.
It's gonna be a great day.
Yeah.
I need Trent to drop his skincare routine, being like, all right, good morning. It's 5 in the morning.
Right.
We're gonna start off today.
Refresh.
Yeah.
Watch it every morning. Be like, this is our routine.
Right.
And then wrapping up, have you all been able to identify what types of depression you or someone else you know has and how to deal with it? I know it's just like a small presentation, so you won't really, I'm not a doctor or anything, but
I feel like before the presentation, like I kind of knew just because like, it
mhm.
takes a while. Like I kind of
Yeah.
I learned a little bit earlier. But I feel like when it comes to like helping someone else, just doing one of the, I don't remember the exact name of it, like the assessments and then kind of going like, is it more physical? Is it more just in
Mhm.
your head? And then from there, kind of giving those resources of like what to do.
Yeah.
I
I
think
think
for
just
me,
looking out for the signs of depression, and just being able to know the symptoms, because sometimes a lot of people like I say push through or they're a certain way, but when a person is off if you're around them all the time.
Yeah.
that was literally what I was gonna say. That like literally what
Oh,
no,
dang.
no,
Sorry, Trent.
no, it's perfect. It's perfect. But I mean, I think also like even with my our real world experience, like I've seen it, but then I didn't know how to like I wish I could have not even I wish, but like how could I have like not noticed this? So like this, even though it was a small presentation, like just like some of the small things are giving me skills that I could practice with my kids because I don't have like my own biological kids yet, but
Mhm.
my school kids, those are my kids, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
further help them And I don't want to say push them to get help, 'cause I don't want them to feel uncomfortable, but encouraging them to get help. This presentation has helped a lot.
Mhm.
Okay, so now we're gonna do our little 15-minute break. We can come back at 1:05. I'll put a timer on
Okay.
if I know how. Okay. 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 So reflection. What strengths did you identify or examine for yourself as a group participant and future group leader, even though you all went already? Oops.
I feel like all of us did really good at like sharing personal experiences, but not like making everything about everybody. And like we weren't overbearing when people were like sharing personal. They're like, "Oh, are you okay?" And like asking too many intrusive questions.
Mhm. I think like in a real therapy session, you're supposed to, but I think we did good. Yeah.
I agree. I think when we were all sharing, I'm sorry, Melissa.
No, go ahead.
I think when we were all sharing like our personal experiences with depression, there wasn't those intrusive questions. It was really just the let the person who's speaking and being vulnerable be vulnerable and give them the space, you know. Sometimes
Mhm.
silence is the best way to make someone feel safe.
Yeah.
And then also, I think in the group is really supposed to be the participants that are really directing the group and talking about their experiences to see who they relate with as far as being support for one another.
Mhm.
What areas of improvement did you identify or examine for yourself as a group participant?
Mhm.
I know for me, like when you all went, um, I'm that person who lets everyone else talk, and then sometimes I don't get out what I need to say, but I know for the future, I need to just say what I want to say.
Mhm.
I guess I could say I'm a better listener than talker. So
I need to stop cutting Trent off. It was like every other time we'd like start talking and then we'd be like, "Oh," and then like one of us would mute and I'm like,
I
Oh,
think
no.
it's hard to do it on Zoom.
Like raise our hand.
"Mhm."
But I think areas of improvement could be kind of putting ourselves in the situation and kind of being relatable, more relatable. Like
Mhm.
today was a good session because we were able to really fully be vulnerable. And I think it just comes with that time.
Yeah.
I feel like there's some things that I was like, "Oh, let me go add this," but then I was like, "It's probably next slide." We have this. Wait, no, that's probably the next slide. So like, self-control's getting there. But maybe like mentioning it so then like the group leader can be like, "That's a great viewpoint." Click.
Let's get there.
Yeah. Um, what takeaways did you develop for the next group session?
For me, I think specifically for this one, I think even if someone like in this group, we may not all be suffering with depression, but we all are affected by it, whether it's someone close to us, it is us, you know, it has been us. So that was a huge takeaway. And just the fact that it shows up in so many different ways, you know, like, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I also did like the big notice of like when you did the confidentiality, I was like, should probably like actually write it down and like read it off because like I was reading it from my screen, but it wasn't like up.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I was like, y'all good? Okay, cool.
I didn't know if I should put the whole thing because it was like the whole confidentiality thing. So I just put what I thought I need to put.
Mhm.
I like how you added the reflection with the questions that are usually asked
Hmm.
of the reflection, and also with the confidentiality. Like I just see that it's more like I told you, like from the beginning to now, it's like you see what could be added and what.
Yeah.
So
And the last question. Oh, did you say something?
Nope.
Oh, provide feedback to the leader to identify strengths and areas of improvement.
I love how you organize things. Like, I feel like it's very easy for me to follow with
Oh,
how
thank
things
you.
are organized. Like, what was it? The activity we did.
Hmm.
Like, I could move the like little thing like of where you guys were, and I was like, and now we're over here. And I was like, nice.
Yeah, I think it was really easy to follow. I think you did a great job of presenting it. I think an area of improvement um, would just be confidence. Girl, you got it. Like you, honestly, you keep saying, "Oh my God, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do it. I'm more of a listener," but you literally went through it, and you were such a natural, and that's
Oh,
just
thank you.
like you. I enjoyed it.
Well,
I've
thank
enjoyed it.
you.
And like
I
y'all,
can say I was really, really nervous like before they fight this whole morning and last night. Like, oh my gosh, I gotta present. My heart was beating. I
Mhm.
guess it's the anxiety, but once I got on here, it stopped. I guess you guys make me feel comfortable, so it stopped. So
absolutely, we'll get through this together.
Mhm.
My feedback is, yeah, the confidence, just being confident. But I love the fact that we were, it was all hands on. We were able to really come together as a group and talk on the tough things of depression,
Yeah,
being vulnerable and opening up. So you did a wonderful job.
thank you.
Big thing that helps me when like I do presentations is like giving myself like a good breath between each slide, so it's not like okay, it's like
Mhm. I do
okay,
talk
now
fast. I don't know if you all noticed, but I do talk fast.
Mhm.
If I would have slowed down, we probably could have got to the 2 hours.
Fine.
the last one we do, that one will be the one that's 2 hours.
Mhm.
Me.
Um, you all have any questions or anything about today?
It was so good.
So once I end it, it will go to the thing. I never done it before.
MP3, it would download as an MP4.
Okay, okay,
You just copy that link.
okay.
The,
can you share this slide deck with me? I would love to use it for my kids or like a
Oh, yes.
be amazing.
Yeah, I'll
Can you
share it.
share your slide decks with me and I'll definitely credit you, like for real.
Okay, thank you.
I would love to use these as PDs for my staff because I just think this affects us, but also y'all have made these slide decks in a way where like we can pinpoint what's going on with our kids.
Mhm.
So please,
Yeah,
I would really appreciate it. And I'll make sure that, this was made.
thank you. No, I feel like I should have did it more. I don't know, but
No, it's perfect. It's perfect. It's perfect.
okay. I think we got like an hour and 15 minutes, so we're good.
that's good. You got your point across.
All
That's all
right.
that matters.
Well, thank you all for showing up and participating, and I'll see you next week.
Yep, we'll do this again next week.
All
See you
right.
all next week.
See
All right.
you.
Bye.
Bye.